All right, everyone, what's going on? Christian back here. Hope you guys are doing well. And today we're going over all the NFL games from week 3. Sorry, this is coming out a day later than I wanted it to, but that's just what happened this week. So we're going to get into each game, of course. We'll talk some fantasy about it as usual. We'll talk about implications for the actual league, but of course, mostly fantasy because why not? We love fantasy. So we'll start with week 1, or well, game 1, I mean. We'll start with game 1 of week 3, which was the Thursday night game, the Dolphins and the Bills. This game overall looked on paper kind of close, but really it wasn't. I know that the Dolphins played good defense in that third quarter, but obviously as soon as Tua threw that pick, that was the end of the game, obviously. So overall, the Dolphins still look very bad. Their defense is just not good. It's just not doing the job. If we really look at what they've been doing, their third down efficiency they allowed this week wasn't as bad. They only were about 53% the Bills. But again, if we look at the total yards, 360 yards, they were to just pound them in the running game. So overall, the Miami defense is definitely, I think, the biggest problem. I thought Mike McDaniel actually called a pretty solid game. And I think that he's getting a little too much criticism as of right this moment. I think the biggest problem is that defense. Their defense just can't stop anybody. If we looked at their first 3 games, they've been terrible in all 3 of them. And to go against the Patriots like they did, and their defense looked bad in that game as well, they just really haven't been able to put it together yet. So I really think that's their biggest problem, in my opinion, at the moment. So I overall am just not that high on them right now. Look at the Bills, though. Obviously, Josh Allen was amazing, of course, as usual. James Cook, look again. I'll keep eating my words on James Cook. I was wrong so far. James Cook has definitely looked like the guy. And again, my main thing was I always thought that James Cook could be like a solid RB2 for you in fantasy. I just always questioned, could he be the RB1 on your fantasy squad? And so far, he is literally the RB1 in fantasy. So it's looking that way at the moment. They're just not giving Ty Johnson or Ray Davis really any reps now, which if you kind of look last year, they were, and now they're kind of not. So it's weird how they've gone through that. So Dalton Kincaid, kind of the main guy there right now. And this is what I kind of figured. I figured this would eventually start to happen. Dalton Kincaid was obviously their first round pick 2 years ago. And he overall has looked good when he's been getting the ball. The problem was that he just wasn't getting the ball enough, in my opinion. Last year, he was a little bit banged up. So, in my opinion, Dalton Kincaid is definitely a guy that I have good faith in, and somebody, especially for fantasy, that I think starting forward, you can definitely be a guy that is sit him or start him and forget. Just put him in your lineup, and as long as he's in there, you're good. So I really like Dalton Kincaid any week that I can get him in there. So Shakir, kind of, again, a good flex player, just gets for you that week. Coleman, kind of weird, right? In my opinion here, he started off the season very good. Last 2 games, a little bit more of down to reality, what it's kind of looking like. I have faith in Coleman still. I think Coleman's still by the end going to be their number 1 guy. They spent a top pick on him, obviously, and they just really like him. So I have faith in him. If we kind of look over here, Devon Achane, a little bit interesting. Ollie Gordon definitely starting to take more of the workload between the backfield here. Obviously, Devon Achane's a guy that you got to start every week in fantasy and still one of the best running backs in the NFL. But as I was saying throughout the offseason, Ollie Gordon is a guy that is very good. He, when we go back 2 years ago, was the consensus number 1 RB coming out before his draft stock slid due to a little bit of a production decrease at Oklahoma State and Oklahoma State. No, yes, Oklahoma State. Jeez. I don't know why that, I think, right? Let me just kind of look real quick. Yeah, it was Oklahoma State. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, definitely took definitely a decrease in stock, but we knew that the talent was there. He was the best running back in the country the year before coming into that final year. So absolutely still have full faith in Ollie Gordon as a player. And I did during the offseason and preseason, if you stayed along with me. And so far, it's starting to look good. I think they kind of need that bruiser. They have a bunch of guys who are just kind of elusive backs here. So they're kind of in desperate need for one of those types of guys. Tyreek and Waddle get there due to the touchdown. They kind of get you there. But still, the passing offense is definitely broken. I mean, Tua looks absolutely garbage. And I thought when you kind of look at the scheme and the play calling and the type of routes that Mike McDaniel cooked up, there were some really good plays in there. So I really don't think it's the play calling. I just don't think Tua is that great, obviously, and they're just not getting it done there in the passing game. So I'm blaming more of the actual players rather than the coach there, in my opinion. Bengals Vikings, man, this was absolutely brutal. If you went against the Vikings defensive fantasy this week, rip you. I'm sorry about that. So Jake Browning, this is kind of going to be on and off. It's going to be hit or miss. If Jake Browning's going to be the guy, is he going to have a good week? Is he going to have a bad week? We shall see. Obviously, this week was not a good week, but we've seen Jake Browning have good weeks before. So I'm still not necessarily completely out on him like some people are. I think it's definitely a guy that can get the Bengals to a spot to have a chance of making the playoffs. I think in the AFC, you probably only need 9 wins this year. Obviously, you're kind of shooting for that 10-win mark as a best chance scenario there. But I really don't think Jake Browning will be the worst there. They're still 2-1. They've got, after the next 3 games, a pretty easy stretch down the remainder of the season. So the Bengals are definitely still a team that has a great chance of making the playoffs. Obviously, with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, that offense, it's very elite still in terms of the passing game. They just got to figure out the running game here. But I think that if the O-line can start to block better in the running game, obviously the passing game there is still very good. I think they'll have a shot, in my opinion. If we look at the run game, this is just brutal, man. Chase Brown, this was one of the highest guys that I was on throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, throughout the preseason games. They were continually targeting him in the preseason through the receiving end, and he looked like a guy that could have an absolute monster season. Obviously had a very good end of last year, and so far, just absolutely brutal. 10 carries for 3 yards might be one of the worst stat lines I've ever seen by a running back in a game. So with that being said, there's obviously still a few things. One, no Joe Burrow now, so that obviously hurts them in terms of kind of predicting what type of team they're going to be. Obviously, most defenses now probably predict more of a run-first team, stack the box. That doesn't help Chase Brown. Additionally, they just can't block. Their O-line is bottom 3. It's up there with the Texans being the worst O-line still. The fact that the Bengals can't figure this out after 3+ years is pretty insane in my opinion. So Chase Brown, I still think is a guy you have to roll out there. He's still in a very good position, obviously being the RB1 on an elite offense in terms of just players on paper. So that's definitely a guy that you have to roll out there, and he's still getting the workload. Obviously, it was a blowout, so he just didn't get enough carries because they were getting killed in that game, so you're not going to obviously see him get that much. He's still got 4 catches in the game, so in a full PPR, he's not the worst. So again, I think Chase Brown's definitely a guy you got to still roll out there, and I still have faith in him, in my opinion, as a player. We look at the Vikings. Carson Wentz, pretty solid game. Didn't really have to do much there, in my opinion. Jordan Mason, that was a guy that I told you guys last week to get in your starting lineup. No doubt about it. You could say, well, it was pretty obvious, but Jordan Mason definitely still has a few red flags. He was banged up last year. Can this type of guy take this type of workload, even though he has the size for a 3-down back? Can he do it? He got banged up multiple times last year with a very good offensive line in the 49ers. Can he manage? And additionally, not a great receiving back. Obviously, if you look at this game, he didn't even catch a single pass. So that's kind of the knock on him. So it was still a risk, right? And it paid off because of 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. So it definitely paid off. So there were definitely question marks about Jordan Mason, so I don't think he was necessarily an obvious start. So if you got him in your lineup, you're feeling good. And for the rest of the season, or at least until Aaron Jones gets back, obviously a guy you got to put in your lineup, a solid RB2. If your team's that good, he's definitely a flex. If he's your RB1, I wouldn't be that happy, but again, definitely a guy that you can be rolling out there for the rest of the season and have good confidence in. So that's that game. I mean, there's just not too much to talk about that. Texans-Jags, this game just really pissed me off. I mean, if you were with me last week, I said to bet this game in the Texans. The Texans had an easy opportunity to win this game. Stroud, one of the picks was his fault. One of the picks wasn't his fault. Deflection, I'm not really blaming quarterbacks for deflected passes. It's just whatever. Like, if the receiver caught it, got hit, flew up in the air, that's not CJ Stroud. So, again, the main problem is still the O-line and the fact that they can't block to save their ass. I mean, again, you look at the running stats in this game. Nick Chubb, 9 carries for 38 yards. Absolutely terrible. Woody Marks, though, a guy that I was really high on all summer as well. We talked about this, obviously, throughout the offseason. He was a guy that was very hyping up, very good receiving back, and is starting to now get to the point where they're almost splitting 50-50 reps, Nick Chubb and Woody Marks. So, obviously, anything bad happens to Nick Chubb, definitely got to pick Woody up. But again, I think that even when Mixon comes back, Woody's going to take the third down role. He's obviously the third down back now. Dare is completely weeded out of this offense. Dameon Pierce was a healthy scratch, so they're not even using him. So it's just Chubb and Marks. So again, Marks is definitely a guy that I would be looking at to pick up there, in my opinion. Absolutely like him right now. Receiving, Nico gets you there finally, has a nice game. Really kind of broke through, though, with that 40-yard just broken play for the touchdown. So, I mean, obviously, if you kind of take that play away, it still wasn't that great. But no doubt about that, he had a very good game. So you got to be happy about that. And the obvious other part is Christian Kirk returned, and Christian Kirk looked very good. Again, this is a guy that I've always been high on, good slot receiver. And he was second in snaps and second in targets there. So definitely a guy in Christian Kirk that I'm very, very high on still. So I think if we're overall summing this up, what's going on with the Texans, they can't run because their O-line is so bad. The O-line is absolutely screwing up their entire offense. With the bad O-line, they're not able to establish a run. Again, Nick Chubb, 9 carries, 38 yards. Woody Marks, 6 carries, 27 yards. So just overall, not great efficiency. They're just not able to get those big explosive plays in the run game because of the fact their O-line is just not opening the holes, and they don't have Joe Mixon, so that doesn't help. But again, the O-line is definitely the major part of why they're not being able to run the ball efficiently. And again, additionally, with that, it's hard for them to pass the ball because C.J. Stroud's getting killed back there. So that bad O-line is just obviously messing up their entire offense. So until that still gets fixed, the Texans are not in a good spot, no doubt about it. On the Jaguars side, I mean, again, Trevor Lawrence had another loaded game, and he still manages to get the win. Again, that's back-to-back really weeks, or really all 3 of the weeks, that Trevor Lawrence has just not had a good game, and they're still 2-1, which is insane. I really kind of chalk it down to what I would call opponents, competition there. I don't like Trevor Lawrence really at all. But ETN gets you there just because of that game-ending touchdown where they just kind of let him walk in. But again, I think ETN's definitely a guy you can still put in your lineup any week. I would try to sell high on ETN for fantasy, but I still like Travis Etienne as a back. Tune got you there again because of a goal line carry, but still not overall that high. So again, I posted a video about BTJ, and we talked about him again. I think that Shane Waldron combination, Trevor Lawrence, not that great. There's a million reasons why BTJ is not doing well right now. Brenton Strange, again, definitely a tight end that I've liked. I just thought, again, he was more of a blocking tight end, and he needed to develop his receiving role. And as the season has gone by so far, that is exactly what's going on. Travis Hunter, definitely a weird spot. Again, throughout the entire preseason training camp, the first few weeks, I've continued to say this. When Travis Hunter came out, he was considered a raw route runner, right? What we would call the bag that he has was not fully developed. He was a guy that didn't really focus 100% being a wide receiver because he was playing half his reps as a cornerback. So again, he wasn't really able to develop his full route tree yet. And I think, again, as each week goes by, he's going to continue to get better in the receiving end of things. Right now, he's actually playing more snaps on defense than offense as of this game. So I think that, again, when we're really looking at Travis Hunter, it's just going to be a process because, again, the fact that he's very raw as a route runner. Very great athlete, we know, and I think he's got the skills. So as long as he continues to hone in on his receiving skills, specifically route running, concept schemes, identifying defenses, I think he'll be fine in the long term. So, yeah, not really a great game that I want to talk about. Colts, again, just continuing to blow doors, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't know. Again, I don't know what Daniel Jones is doing, but it's something, man. He's doing some ritual in the locker room. Jonathan Taylor, another monster game. And again, we know that Jonathan Taylor is always a great running back. The problem was, can he stay healthy? And so far, as long as he's fully healthy, it's fine. Their O-line's very good. They've had a great O-line for many years. So, great run-blocking O-line. So, Michael Pittman's been very good to start the season. I wasn't very high on Pittman for fantasy overall to start. But as we kind of have looked throughout his first 3 games, Michael Pittman's been very good. We look at his first 3 games, 6 for 73 and a touchdown, 440, not the greatest game, but then 680 for a touchdown. So far he started the season off very, very well. So I absolutely love the way Michael Pittman's been hooping. So I think Michael Pittman's definitely a guy that you can get in your lineup any week and be fully happy with that. Tyler Warren, again, a tight end I'm really high on. And again, it's just rookies. He's going to have ups and down games. So I'm not really taking away anything too much there. Cam Ward, again, just really has started off brutal in terms of scheduling. He's just had to run the gauntlet against 3 really good defenses, so I feel really bad for him. I still don't really think he's played bad. I mean, the one pick he did throw in this game wasn't great. That was a very bad read. Tried to do an RPO and threw a pick 6. It was a very bad read by him, but obviously a rookie, so you're going to expect that. So I think Cam Ward's played fine overall, given the lack of talent on the team and additionally the fact that they are starting out with 3 of the toughest defenses in the NFL. So again, I think Cam Ward's going to be perfectly fine. The O-line hasn't looked great. Latham's been hurt, so that doesn't help. And overall, they haven't been able to establish a great run game either. Pollard is a good back, we know, but 16 carries, 45 yards, just not going to get the job done. So when you have a rookie quarterback and you can't establish a run game, that's really, really bad. Obviously, every quarterback needs a established run game, but a rookie quarterback specifically, that's really tough. So again, I think Cam Ward's going to be perfectly fine. They just need to obviously get their guys back, and they have to run the ball better for a rookie quarterback in him. So again, obviously we kind of figured the Titans weren't going to be good anyways this year. I had them in the bottom of tiers. So far that's kind of just looking as is. Chig, another tight end that I was high on this offseason. Now, this is what I want to see, Chig. I want to see this every week. You were a guy that was very high on, and so far it hasn't started off great. But if this is a beginning of what I'm predicting, then I'm very on board. Again, 4 catches, 35 yards, 3 for 19, so not great. But again, this is what I expected. They don't really have another guy. I mean, Ellick is obviously kind of coming into his own as a rookie, and so far Calvin Ridley's looked like a bum, so not great. But this is what I was saying. Chig had a perfect opportunity to kind of take over here and get a good target share, and that's what he needs to do. So this is a good start for him. Hopefully he can just continue that. Raiders Commanders, again, this was a really, really weird game. Obviously, Geno Smith had a monster stat line, and Trey Tucker had one of the best games ever by a receiver. 8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, again, do not buy in on Trey Tucker fantasy. Let's not do this, please. What happened to Troy Franklin this week? Obviously nothing. What happened to Wan'Dale Robinson this week? Obviously nothing. So, again, do not buy the hype after one game. Just don't. Again, you can pick him up off of waivers and sit him. And then if he has a couple more monster games, sure, then, put him in your lineup. But again, right now, do not instantly take Trey Tucker because he had one monster game and put him in your lineup because next week he's probably going to give you 3 points. And you're going to be like, oh, what just happened? So, again, great game for him, but do not expect that continually at the moment. Is how I would probably sum that up. Ashton Jeanty, this is bad. Obviously, again, they just can't establish. They have a bad O-line too. They just can't establish a run game. A little bit better in terms of production there. 63 yards, but 17 carries to get there, just not great. So, again, I'm expecting him to be there, and it'll be fine. But as we've kind of discussed, that O-line is just so bad. Mariota gets you there in terms of doing enough to win the game. They only threw the ball 21 times in the game. Now, this running back room is still really weird, obviously. Bill got the most snaps. He didn't get the most carries, but he got the most snaps. So, really, Jeremy McNichols got lucky on that run. He did. 4 guys missed their blocking assignment there, or in terms of just not being able to tackle him. So, I think that overall, I would not be that in on him. I think that Bill is still the guy to be on overall and expect him to continue to get a larger workload as the season gets on. Again, he's a 7th-round rookie, so they're just not going to put the whole plate on him to begin with. Terry McLaurin had finally a decent bounce-back week. It's just tough without, obviously, Jayden Daniels in there. He is going to be back this week, Jayden Daniels, but Terry McLaurin is probably going to be out this week, so that's tough. But again, it was good to see him finally have a decent bounce-back game. Luke McCaffrey, again, one good game so far. I like Luke McCaffrey coming out. Obviously, he's CMC's brother, so I like that. But again, let's chill. Good start. Let's see if he can continue that Ertz, kind of a off game, but I'm kind of expecting that with a backup quarterback in there. Eagles, Rams, probably the best game of the week, in my opinion, or one of the best games, in my opinion, there. Without a doubt, Puka Nacua is just so good at football. Like, the guy is just, I can't underestimate or overestimate, excuse me, how great this guy is at catching the football. I mean, 11 catches for 112 yards. The guy gets 15 targets a game. It's absolutely asinine. It's insane. So any week that Puka Nacua is in your starting lineup, you're jumping up and down and doing circles because you absolutely love that guy. Kyren, again, this is Kyren Williams. If anyone really expected Blake Corum to take real reps away from him, I think you were just wrong. 20 carries to Blake's 8. Again, Kyren is still the guy, in my opinion. He's been highly debated throughout all the offseason, all the first few weeks of the NFL. I have continued to say you've got to get Kyren Williams in your lineup any week you can. He gives you good receiving work. He gives you good rushing work. He gets you there any single week, no matter what, just because of the amount of reps he gets. People saw one good game from Blake Corum and started to panic. And again, I know Blake had a decent game in this game, but still, he's not even getting close to enough workload and target share for me to be worried about Kyren yet. And Kyren still got you two catches, 18 yards, and a touchdown as well. So still very high on Kyren. Eagles, Jalen Hurts, monster game, one of his better games passing we've seen in a while. They've just obviously not needed to pass the ball because, again, this is the Eagles' plan. They just want to run the ball with Saquon 25 times a game if they can, and if it's not working, then obviously they will transition to being a passing team. It's almost weird. It's like a car that needs to be like kicked a few times to like start to like rev, or a car that needs to be ignited a few times to really get going. That's kind of their passing offense right now. They're so used to just running the ball 25 times a game. They're like, oh, wait, we actually have to throw the ball this game. All right, it's going to take us a little bit to get going. But again, once that passing offense really gets going, it's unstoppable. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, both monster games. Again, it's a top 3, if not the best receiving duo in the league. They still have a top 5, if not the best O-line in the league as well. So what do you expect? You expect their offense, especially in the passing game, to be good. So again, this is something we'll expect going forward. If they start out losing big, they're obviously going to transition to a passing team in the second half, but still expect them to be a run-first type of team. So yeah, I mean, again, wild game as well. So still think that the Eagles are great overall. Falcons, Panthers, this was a very unpredicted game, in my opinion. Absolute blowout. Michael Penix looks like garbage. I was never high on Penix anyways, but didn't expect him to be this garbage against them in the Panthers. So Bijan, solid game. I mean, not the best in terms of touchdown production, but still gave you a pretty solid game. 5 catches, 72 yards. So full PPR, he got you there. Drake London, again, it's not looking great to start. Kind of like BTJ, I'm not really quite sure what's going on here. Penix is obviously the main culprit right now, just not playing well enough, definitely. And I think the other reason is Drake London is still a little banged up. He's got the shoulder injury, so that doesn't help. But again, Drake London, due to obviously the role in the offense, the target share, the skill, it's definitely a guy you still have to run out there any week that you have him in your lineup. So you can't sit Drake London. I've always said that. People are panicking about him, again, because of the slow production to start. But as I've always said, especially with the talent, the production in the past, the situation in terms of targets and who else is really competing there, not too much. You have to put Drake London out there no matter what. And again, I know it hasn't been the greatest of starts, but I'm just not expecting Michael Penix to throw 2 picks and go 18 for 36 every week. I'm not a big fan of Penix, but I still think that he will get the job done at the end of the day for Drake London. Panthers, Bryce Young, didn't really need to do much in this game at all. Weird game. Again, Tet, I know didn't have a great game in terms of the stat line, but the dude is ridiculous. Did you guys see that catch he had over the corner where he jumped probably about 2 feet in the air? I mean, the guy is just absolutely monster. Love Ted McMillan. One of my favorite guys coming out of this draft, and I'm very, very high on him as we continue. Chuba Hubbard, solid game in terms of running. They were finally able to establish a run game. They just weren't able to punch it in. He got tackled at the half-yard line twice. So as a Chuba Hubbard fan, that obviously stunk, and a Chuba Hubbard owner. So again, this is what I think the Panthers can actually be. Not I'm saying they're going to blow doors, but I think that the Panthers can be a team that we know looked very good at the end of last year. And their offense on paper and the way Bryce Young has looked so far is not bad. Again, Tet has looked great to start. We know Chuba's a good running back, a great running back, in my opinion. And Bryce Young, when he has time, is actually able to very well produce. Not in terms of like super, super elite, but Bryce Young is definitely a good enough quarterback, in my opinion, to be a winning team. Now, again, where is that going to take you in the long term? We still don't know, but I think Bryce Young is definitely a guy you can build for the future. The rushing O-line so far has looked great. The passing in terms of blocking there hasn't. So if they can pick up the passing blocking, then I definitely have more faith in this Panthers team as we continue. Additionally, they just didn't kill themselves with stupid turnovers and stupid mistakes to start the game. So as long as they don't do that, they've started out fine and they've been able to hit the ground running throughout the entire game. It's just when they start out 7-0, 14-0 down within the first 5 minutes of the game because of stupid turnovers. So as long as they avoid that and the pass blocking continues to get better, I have full faith in this Panthers team. Patriots, Steelers, don't really want to talk about this as a Pats fan. Annoying. I mean, five turnovers. Drake May, I thought, played overall fine. I mean, again, he just can't fumble. Can't do that. And he's got to get rid of that. But he's still wicked young. He just turned 23 years old. I mean, the guy is just a baby still. So I still have full faith in Drake May. Led the team in rushing yards, though. Can't have that happen continually because you just can't have your quarterback do that unless you're Lamar, really, Jalen Hurts, because you'll just get him killed. And I think Drake May is a terrific passer anyways. So I think they need Drake May to be in the pocket. That's where he's going to thrive. If the Patriots really want to get back to the dynasty type of winning, they need him to be a pocket passer. So obviously the main problem in this game was the fumbles. Ramondre fumbles twice, Gibson fumbles once, Drake May fumbles once. Ramondre fumbled in the red zone, in the end zone, literally passing the pylon, going to score a touchdown, fumbles. So again, I've said this and I'll continue to say this. I thought that Ramondre was going to get the majority of the workload to start the season. And so far, that's exactly what has happened because they gave him a contract. They didn't want to look bad. Oh, we gave him a contract and now we drafted TreVeyon Henderson. So now we're just going to play TreVeyon Henderson 80% of the time and not put Ramondre in. First of all, Ramondre is a bruiser, a back that can demand 3 downs, and TreVeyon's not. He's a smaller back. I just don't think in a vacuum in the long term, you can put TreVeyon out there to get 20 carries a game and play 70% of the snaps. He'll just get killed out there. He's not big enough. So, again, I think that if Ramondre continues to fumble like this, like I predicted, then obviously they're going to have to make that transition just because they're going to be forced to. Again, Ramondre led the NFL in fumbles last year and, again, fumbled twice in this game. So if that continues, obviously he's done. But Mike Vrabel did come out and say they still want Ramondre highly involved. But for the next few weeks, I expect TreVeyon to really command the most of the workload. So definitely considering TreVeyon on the up right now. Hunter Henry, monster game. Again, Hunter Henry's a tight end that I'm always high on for fantasy, especially with Drake May. His favorite target, basically, him and Kayshawn. So I really, really like Hunter Henry in the long term. Steelers, I'm just not really giving much credit to the Steelers in this game, really, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It was just stupid mistakes by the Patriots that killed themselves. I mean, really. Again, you just can't fumble going into the end zone. So, I think that the Steelers aren't a terrible team, but that defense stinks. They really do. The Patriots had all what they wanted in terms of moving the ball. They just killed themselves with dumb turns. Again, the Patriots had 369 total yards. They got them by 160 there. They killed them in the passing. They killed them in rushing, yards per play, first downs, literally everything. 4 for 5 on fourth downs, and they still lost that game. So, I mean, again, Jaylen Warren's still obviously commanding the whole backfield, but very inefficient. This is what I said. I knew that Jaylen Warren was going to get the workload, but inefficient. I'm just not a big fan of Jaylen Warren as a runner. Calvin Austin, a guy that I've been decently high on and had a pretty solid game. DK got you there with the tutty. We shall see. I mean, Rodgers just overall doesn't look great. Packers-Browns, insane upset here. This is a weird game. I was watching it through Sunday Ticket, so I'm obviously not watching every game like fully, but I go back and look at some of the stuff. The main thing is that the Browns are just a very, very good team up front. They're able to just stop the run. I mean, you look at Josh Jacobs, this game 16 for 30, probably one of his worst efficient games ever. And in terms of efficiency, one of his worst games. So I think that the Browns are going to try to muck it up every single week. Just absolutely destroy the run games of defenses, play very good man, play very good zone, and just really prevent teams from moving the ball. And that's exactly what happened this game. They also had a block kick, which was a little bit lucky there because that doesn't obviously happen all the time. So that was what kind of allowed them to win that game. Jordan Love, pretty bad game there overall. So if Cleveland can kind of keep these games low scoring, they'll obviously have a chance in any game. So this was a good game for Matthew Golden. Again, Matthew Golden was definitely the rookie receiver that was the highest on, still really like Ted Nidbuka, but Golden was definitely the guy that was the highest on, especially how he looked in the college playoffs. And this was definitely a good sign for him, in my opinion. 4 for 52. First real solid game, right? Now without Jayden Reed for a while, that definitely helped him. So I think that Matthew Golden is definitely a guy that will just continue to get better and a guy that I have full faith going later on. Rushing, this is kind of what I predicted as soon as Quinshon came back, is that he was just going to take literally almost all the workload. And Quinshon's looking like the next Nick Chubb for the Browns. Absolutely bruiser. 18 carries, 94 yards, a touchdown. Very, very good. No doubt about it. Judkins was the guy that I was very high on, but in terms of fantasy, probably not going to give you the greatest because his receiving upside is very bad, right? 1 catch for 1 yard. He's just, again, Nick Chubb. So if he doesn't have a good game on the ground, probably not going to get you there for fantasy. But again, definitely a guy that if you just want someone who's going to mandate an entire target share, an entire snap count, this is the guy you want, really, going forward. And Dylan Sampson is definitely just right now not a guy that really will get much workload unless they're getting absolutely blown out in these games. So really, Quinshon is a guy that I am continuing to be very, very high on. So absolutely love him at the moment in terms of fantasy. Now, we won't talk about what he's doing off the field, but Jets Bucks. I mean, again, this was a crazy game. Blocked field goal returned, and I thought the Jets were actually going to end up winning. Left too much time on the clock, and their defense got absolutely shredded by Baker at the end of that game. So, kind of a disappointment there for the Jets there. But with that being said, if we're kind of looking at it, I really don't think the Jets are that bad. I mean, again, this was a team that I thought had a chance of being like a sleeper caliber type of team. Especially, sorry, hold on one sec. Hold on. Yeah, that was weird. Sorry. What the frig, man? What the frig? Here we go. That was weird. Here, let me just move myself a little bit there too. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so really a game where the Jets had a chance and they just couldn't finish. And again, the Jets have played 2 good games. Obviously, the Bills game, they got absolutely blown out. I really don't think the Jets are that bad. I really don't. If you look at the team on paper, they just look pretty solid. Justin Fields should be back, right? Coming back next week. We shall see. I mean, maybe they kind of run out Tyrod one more week, make sure Justin's fully healthy. I really don't think Tyrod played overall that bad. The pick 6 was obviously brutal. But other than that, he was able to move the ball. I thought they moved the ball decently well. So, again, Breece Hall, this is what I've been saying, guys. I know Breece Hall had one good week, but this is what I've been saying. He doesn't get the goal line work, and it's not good if they can't establish a run game. He's absolutely toast. 9 carries for 21 yards, and he only really kind of gave you a decent gain because he caught 4 passes for full PPR. But if you're playing in standard, that's absolutely brutal. So, again, Breece Hall, a guy that I've been saying all summer. 3-back committee, lost all of the goal line work. He really is not a guy that I have full faith in going into the rest of the season. Because, again, as I've been saying, well, what if he has one bad game in the rushing category? He's not going to get you there in the touchdown. Still doesn't have a touchdown yet. Well, actually, he has 1 touchdown, but overall, just not great. Garrett Wilson, again, a guy that I told everyone to draft this summer, had full faith in, would be perfectly fine, and so far, he has been dynamite. Again, the main argument there is that he has no competition, and for a full PPR format, just gets absolutely insane amounts of targets and reps. So, absolutely love Garrett Wilson for full PPR for any fantasy right now. Even in standard, he's getting the job done for you. Because, again, he's really got no competition. If you look at the targets for each game, it's ridiculous. He's averaging 12 targets a game right now. So, overall, Garrett Wilson is definitely a guy that you got to get in your lineup any week that you can, even if the game gets kind of ugly. Baker, solid game. Didn't really just kind of get you there in terms of, like, touchdowns, but still a pretty solid game. Bucky, great, obviously, workload. Just not efficient. Jets have a good run defense, so that's kind of what I was expecting there. Ibuka now is a guy that is on the true up. Mike Evans is out with that hammy. He's going to be out for a while. No Godwin still. No Jalen McMillan. This is a guy that you absolutely have to get in your starting lineup. He is borderline top 10 going forward right now for wide receivers, especially in full PPR. Absolutely love Emeka Egbuka right now, especially with Mike Evans going out with that hammy. That one-handed catch he had on the sideline, too, where Baker was kind of trolling him, like, hey, make sure you catch both of those because you're disrespecting my passes. It was a good, funny joke that he had there. But he just has great hands. He can catch everything. And I have full faith in Emeka Egbuka throughout the rest of the season. Definitely a guy that can be kind of an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of dude. Just absolutely gets peppered with the football, gets insane amounts of targets. So for full PPR will be amazing. So. Chargers Broncos, again, another game where Bo Nix just can't get the job done. I've just never been a Bo Nix guy, and they had multiple chances in this game, and they just kind of blew it. So I think the Chargers are obviously playing very well, so that's definitely something that's hard. It was a tough team. So, but overall, Bo Nix just 153 yards, not good enough. So, J.K. Dobbins, again, is the main guy right now. I still think as the season progresses, R.J. Harvey is going to get more workload and involvement because, again, they spent a second-round pick on him. So they're going to have to give him reps. They're going to have to get him involved. So Courtland Sutton, finally, people that were panicking on him after just 2 bad games can finally eat it because he proved them wrong. I've always been very high on Courtland Sutton. I'm not high on Bo Nix, but again, Bo Nix has been able to get the ball out fine. And Courtland Sutton's the number 1 guy there with not great competition. I told you last week Troy Franklin was not going to continue to do that. 1 game is just not enough sample size for me to be all in on him. So Courtland Sutton finally comes back with a good bounce back game with really no competition for him. So absolutely love Courtland Sutton going forward with really not great competition. Still the wide receiver 1. So again, Courtland Sutton's definitely a guy that you got to get in your lineup any week and just have full faith in. Chargers look absolutely amazing, right? They are 3-0. Wasn't a great game overall, I thought, for them. They definitely had some missed opportunities there, but Omarion Hampton, this is the guy. This is the guy I was telling you about, guys. Finally has a good breakout game. I really feel bad for Najee, obviously losing the rest of the season with his injury, but that definitely helps Omarion Hampton. This is the guy that I had full faith in going the offseason with a good run-blocking offensive line, obviously, and they finally got him involved more in the passing game. 6 catches, 60 yards. This is what he's good at. Screen designs, route designs. They actually designed receiving routes for a running back who's a very elite receiver. So he obviously got it done for you in the running game, but the passing game is where I wanted to see a larger increase in role, and that's exactly what happened. We know that he was a very good pass catcher coming out of UNC, and he's a very good runner. So this is a 3-down back with great receiving upside on an O-line that is very good at blocking. So again, Omarion Hampton is a guy going forward that I have full faith in, and I had full faith all offseason and even after the first few bad games. Quentin Johnson, again, has another good game, but I'm still just not overall buying it quite yet. 3 games is definitely a good sample size, and he's been great to start. But like I said, I still think Ladd's the main guy there. I know it hasn't been great to start, but again, for full PPR, he's still their slot kind of guy you have to have full faith in. It's very odd right now that he's obviously not really getting there coming off a monster rookie season. So it's just a little bit of pick and choose right now. It's a little bit obviously still up in the air. But again, I still have faith in Ladd. I still think Quentin Johnson is definitely a guy you can start any week, but it's definitely weird what's going on with that. This is obviously not a game. The Seahawks literally railed the Saints. This should have got taken off air after about 10 minutes. It was literally 21-0 after the first quarter. Rattler overall, again, still hasn't played like terrible. I still have faith in Rattler. Kamara is obviously still absolutely dominating in the rushing category, and he's still getting you there decently in the receiving. Not this game, but because they were getting blown out so quickly, they just kind of took him out for the rest of the game. So Olave, definitely still a guy that's been very good. 10 catches for only 57 yards, though. That's not very efficient. But again, for full PPR, Olave is definitely a guy that I still really, really like. And if you drafted him late and you took the flyer on him, so far it's an absolute home run pick. I've always really liked Olave. He's a very talented receiver. The main thing was, can he stay healthy? So far, he's staying healthy. And again, in terms of full PPR and receiving work that he's getting, it's absolutely phenomenal. So Olave, definitely a guy that if you drafted later, you really hit pay dirt right now. So that's definitely one of the bigger steals right now of redrafts right now, in my opinion. So definitely very in on Chris Olave. Seahawks, Darnold, good game, right? No doubt about it. Really like Darnold, how he's playing right now. The O-line has looked much better. Again, this is what I kind of figured. They bring Kubiak in. They establish the West Coast offense, and so far they look good. Kenneth Walker obviously had a great game in terms of touchdown production, but obviously they just still, in terms of running blocking, they can't get the job done. I mean, they just can't. He's getting tackled so much before the line of scrimmage. It's ridiculous, but still gets you 2 touchdowns there. No Charbonnet, obviously, so that helped. JSN just continues to be an absolute stud for full PPR. Torrey Horton, again, guy that was really high on in the offseason, so far has started to look better as each game goes on, looking great. And Kupp is just kind of a guy that I just don't really have much faith in. Haven't had much faith in him for fantasy. So Cowboys, Bears, again, the Cowboys are just going absolutely nowhere with that defense. That defense is just atrocious. They cannot stop anything. So you just look at this: 385 yards, 300 passing yards, 87 rushing yards. They just absolutely dominated. So again, I think that I think that the main problem, obviously, with the Cowboys is them giving up the big plays. That's Bland, that's Diggs. Those are those types of guys. They just give up the big play. So they're just dudes that are really just too boom or bust there. So Javonte finally had a game where it wasn't like absolutely insane, but still, got 12 in full PPR, 13. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely still the guy going forward. Miles Sanders got a large workload in this game, but they were also losing bad, so kind of preserve the starters there. But CD goes down. That obviously really sucks for me. But as a fantasy owner, Ferguson and Pickens obviously go way up in value, no doubt about it, until CD comes back. Pickens, obviously the main guy. Jake Ferguson, a tight end. That's probably in the obvious start now. Caleb Williams finally has a monster game. Again, I'm still not chalking it up to much right now because of who they played. That defense is just so bad. It's bottom 3 defense. So, if they continue to do this, then we're having a different conversation. But for right now, just still not 100% fully in on them yet. DeAndre Swift, not a great game. Obviously, they were kind of blowing doors, though, too. So, Luther Burton, monster game. Again, this is a guy like Ollie Gordon, who was the consensus wide receiver 1 for about 90% of the offseason going into his last season. Had a bad year at Missouri, lost some value, was a little bit of a bad team. He was complaining on the sideline. So he lost some value there in terms of stock. We know that he's a very good player. So it's just, again, this is just a very mixed kind of conglomerate of receiving work right now with the Bears. So it's still just kind of a true unknown there. Cardinals 49ers. This is a game that really pissed me off. Cardinals should have had this game. Zay Jones, just catch the ball, dude. I mean, literally, if he just catches that ball, they win that game. I'm still really high on the Cardinals. Again, I have the Cardinals predicted to make the playoffs. And again, they were one play away from the 49ers. I know they didn't have Purdy, but still, their defense looks very good. And they're playing much better football than they have the last few years. Again, the main up has been that defense. Will Johnson looking absolutely like a lockdown stud corner. And they still don't even have Walter Nolan yet. So I think that really when they get all their guys back fully healthy on defense too, they're going to be even better. Really, Josh Sweat has looked good to start the season as well. And again, they've just been able to play much better defense. So I think as long as they continue to play good defense, their offense is obviously very good with Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison we'll continue to talk about. It's just not been great, obviously, to start. But again, I think that he's still good enough. He's got the skill there where they'll figure it out. I really do think. On the 49ers side, obviously, Mac Jones, I didn't really think played that well, but McCaffrey still gets it done. He's just not running efficiently, but he's getting so many catches that it doesn't matter. Again, in the run, it just hasn't looked great. But with how much receiving work he's getting in full PPR, it's ridiculous. So Ricky P, definitely a guy that I absolutely love right now. Was very, very high on him coming out of the draft. And without Juwan Jennings, he's looked great. So Ricky P, definitely a dude that we should definitely be fully high on and looking very, very solid. No doubt about it. Down to the last few games here, Chiefs. This was a stupid game. Again, can we not put the Giants on primetime anymore? Thank you. I don't know why the NFL continually puts the Giants on primetime. Oh, they're in New York. I don't care. They suck. Stop putting these bums on primetime. I hate watching them play. It's such a waste of time. I don't even watch the rest of the game. It stinks. So, obviously, the Giants just still can't move the ball. I know they looked better last week, but that's the Cowboys defense. They have, again, a bottom 3 defense, so they actually played a good defense this week, and they couldn't do jack squat. So Jackson Dart's going to start this week by the looks of it. That's what that's what the reporting has been, and they will definitely roll out Jackson Dart. That's what Brian Daboll said. So as long as he's out there, I mean, terrible game from Russ. Scatterbo, definitely a guy that you've got to have going forward, no doubt about it. Is not a great runner overall, I would say, in terms of like shiftiness, but he's like a true bulldozer. He reminds me a lot of Peyton Hillis. I think it is a fair comp. Really getting you there in the receiving end too. He caught 6 passes, so that was very interesting to see as well. So I think Scatterbo is definitely a guy that you have to start, no doubt about it. I saw from a report today from like one of the fantasy football accounts, that one of the big ones, that they had him as a top 10 back. That's obviously pushing it, not even close. I think he's a top, call it probably 20. I would not be putting him in the top 10, not even close. Those guys had him over still guys like Josh Jacobs and Chuba Hubbard. No, absolutely no. But I still think Scatterbo is definitely a guy going forward they should have full faith in as a good flex RB, low-end RB2. Mahomes gets the job done this week. Their offense still looks obviously trash without Worthy and Rice. Once they get back, I still think it'll be fine. Tyquan had a great game as a Patriots fan. That pisses me off. But, again, I think that that's just still something that I'm not buying yet. Again, these two guys just not buying. Once Rice and Worthy come back, it's kind of game over there. Lions-Ravens, great game. Actually, this was probably the best game of the week. I did bet the Lions to win that. I did tell you guys to bet the Lions to win that game, and it did happen. So I went 1 for 3 this week in betting, so not great. But last week we did go 4 for 4, so, we can have one bad week. But this was probably a game that most people clowned me for and thought that wasn't going to happen, and that didn't. Montgomery and Gibbs, Gibbs is still the main guy here, no doubt about it. If you look at the snap percentage that Montgomery's getting right now, it's absolute trash. 39, 37, and 38 through his first 3 games in terms of snap percentage. So he's not getting enough reps. Really only got you there because he had that 70-yard touchdown or 70-yard run, and then obviously got 2 touchdowns to go with it. So consistently, I'm still not in on David Montgomery as like a high tier. I think he's definitely a guy you can throw in as your flex. But in terms of like a high tier RB, he's past that still, in my opinion. Again, 1 good game so far to start the season. His first 2 weeks, not great overall. Gibbs is definitely still the main guy taking over that role there. So I'm on my monster game, of course. Laporta, not great. JMO, another boom or bust type of game. That's the boom or bust. 3 points week 1, 20 points week 2, 6 points week 3. That's the true boom or bust from there. Lamar, monster game, of course, but they just couldn't get the job done at the end. Then went for it in the red zone. Weren't able to convert there. Derrick Henry, he's got to stop the fumbles, man. This is concerning. He's literally fumbled in all 3 games to start. Obviously, I don't think Derrick Henry is at any risk of losing his job, but he has, if you really look at it, cost them 2 games because of fumbles. The Bills game, obviously, and now this Lions game. So I think Derrick Henry's definitely got to stop that, which is weird because if we look out through his entire career, he's not a notorious fumbler. So very weird that all of a sudden it's starting to become a problem. Obviously, you still got to roll Derrick Henry out any week for fantasy. He's still a top 5 running back any week for fantasy. But if he continues to keep fumbling, that's obviously something we've got to look out for. And he's definitely at risk of losing reps and opportunities if he's costing his team games. So Mark Andrews had a weird production game. I can't believe that happened. I'm not expecting that to happen throughout the rest of the season continuously. But again, obviously had a nice game. So I still think that if we're looking at a vacuum, Mark Andrews, I still wouldn't have full faith starting or to continue to do that. Zay Flowers did have a bad game. Very just weird design game. I thought this would be a perfect game for Flowers. Losing most of the game. Throwing the ball a lot in this game for Lamar. 27 pass attempts is a lot for Lamar usually in a game. So if you look at Flowers' his first monster game, week 1, Lamar only threw 14 passes. So it's very, very weird that if we're kind of looking at it, Zay was not able to kind of hit pay dirt there. But again, I still have full faith in Zay. He's a guy you got to start, in my opinion. So great week in the NFL, definitely, and very interesting. A lot of close games, a lot of coming down to the wire type of games, a lot of blocked kicks, a lot of game-winning drives. So very, very interesting game. I believe it was 7 games were decided in the last 2 minutes, which hasn't happened in, what was it, like 10 years all at once. So absolutely, absolutely insane. So appreciate you guys coming out. And again, I'm going to start trying to upload more on YouTube. Definitely, obviously, a review every week for this. So again, appreciate you guys coming out here, and I will see you next time. All right, peace out. Thanks.